Hey guys, welcome back to r/IDOWorkHereLady. In this Reddit Ripe story, imagine taking over your dad's legendary 40-year-old company only to have your very first Karen try to get you fired from your own building. She thought she had the ultimate trump card, a personal friendship with the owner, but there was just one massive problem with her story. Let's dive right into the video. And the first one is from r/IDOWorkHereLady, and it is titled "Smug Karen Pretends to Know the Owner to Fire Me." I am the owner. So my dad is a chiropractor and he's something of a local legend in our town. He's been practicing for over 40 years, cracking backs and fixing necks since before I was born. His practice is this cozy standalone building on the edge of our small hometown, and the entire community basically goes to him. If you hurt your back moving a couch, you go to my dad. If your kid tweaks their neck at football practice, you go to my dad. He is that kind of guy. He knows everyone's names, their kids' names, and probably their dog's birthday. I decided to follow in his footsteps, but I took a slightly different route. I went to school in the city, worked at a high-volume sports clinic for a few years, and got used to a very different pace of work. I am used to digital charts, online booking, and rapid-fire treatment plans, but my dad? Well, he was still using paper appointment books and filling cabinets up until last year. Last year, he finally decided it was time to hang up the activator and retire. Instead of selling the practice, though, to some corporate chain that would turn it into a patient mill, he wanted me to take it over. And yeah, it was a dream scenario, honestly. I get a turnkey business with a loyal patient base, and he gets to keep his legacy in the family, but the transition was not exactly smooth. I had to work part-time at my city office and part-time at his office for about 6 months to bridge the gap. I had to transfer my life from the city back to my hometown, and more importantly, I had to modernize the clinic. We are talking about 40 years of paper records that needed to be digitized. I had to install a new scheduling software, update the billing system to actually accept credit cards without using one of those knucklebuster carbon copy machines, and hire new staff because his receptionist retired when he announced he was leaving. I had 2 other associates to help handle the load because I wanted to expand the hours as well. My dad used to work 4 days a week, 9 to 5, and I wanted to be open 6 days a week with evening hours to accommodate working people. It was a massive undertaking. Fast forward to about a year into this process. I'm officially the owner. I bought the building and the practice from my parents. On paper, it is mine, and my dad still pops in occasionally to say hi to old patients or bring us donuts, but he's not treating anyone anymore. The transition has been mostly great. We have the usual moody patients who don't like change or people who are grumpy because they are in pain, which is understandable in our line of work. You simply learn not to take it personally when someone with a slipped disc is a little short with you, but then there was this woman that we will call Karen. It was a Tuesday morning. I remember it clearly because Tuesdays are my heavy admin days. I usually get to the office way before we open to handle payroll, deal with insurance claims, and manage the vendors. The clinic does not officially open for patients until 10 a.m. on Tuesdays to give us time for staff meetings and training. I had just come from the gym. I lift heavy in the mornings to clear my head, so I was wearing gym shorts, a sweat-stained t-shirt, and old sneakers. I had not showered yet, and the plan was to get to the office, take out the trash, do some inventory, and then shower, and change into my scrubs and slacks before the staff arrived at 9:30. I pulled into the back lot, unlocked the rear door, and started my routine. I was inside the rear hallway just tying up the big trash bags from the treatment rooms to haul them out to the dumpster in the back alley when I heard the doorbell ring. Now, our doorbell is not a subtle chime, it's an old-school industrial buzzer that rings in the back office so the doctor can hear it if they are doing notes. It is loud. I checked my watch. It was about 8:45 a.m. We open at 10 a.m., so I ignored it. Probably just a delivery driver dropping off a package, or maybe a patient that got the time wrong and would realize their mistake in a second when they saw the sign. But then the buzzer went again. Okay, persistent, I figured they would read the sign, but then it just didn't stop. It was like someone was leaning on the button with their entire body weight. It was mad ringing, aggressive ringing. That was the kind of ringing that suggests the building is on fire or someone is actively bleeding out on the doorstep, so I dropped the trash bag, wiped my hands on my shorts, and jogged to the front. I was annoyed. I unlocked the front door and swung it open, ready to tell someone to read the sign. But standing there was a woman who looked like she had been assembled in a factory that specialized in upper middle class entitlement. And by the way guys, if you enjoy r/IDOWorkHereLady stories, please don't forget to like the video and tell me in the comments which subreddit you enjoy the most and also where you are watching from today. Thank you for your support. Anyway, this was Karen. Before I could even get a "good morning" out, she yelled, "It's about damn time you answered. I've been standing here for 5 minutes." I took a deep breath, engaging my customer service filter. "Can I help you, ma'am?" She scoffed, looking me up and down. I was sweating, wearing gym clothes, and probably smelled like a locker room. She clearly didn't think much of me. "I have an appointment right now," she snapped. "Why aren't you open yet? The door was locked." I glanced at my watch again just to be sure I hadn't lost my mind or something. "Ma'am, we don't open until 10 AM. It's not even 9 yet." "I know what time it is," she hissed. "I have an appointment. Let me in. It's freezing out here." It was a mild spring morning, maybe 60 degrees, but I stepped aside to let her into the waiting room because I didn't want to make a scene on the sidewalk. My brain was racing. Did one of the new associates book someone early by mistake? Did the new software glitch and allow a slot to be booked during blockout hours? "Please come sit," I said, gesturing to the waiting area chairs. "Who are you here to see?" She rolled her eyes so hard, I thought they might get stuck in the back of her head. "The chiropractor, of course. Who else would I be here to see? The janitor?" She gave a pointed look at my trash-stained shorts. I ignored the jab. "Right. Which doctor? We have 3 on staff." "The owner," she said smugly. "I only see the owner." Okay, that was weird. I mean, I am the owner. I definitely didn't book her. Maybe she meant my dad? But he had not seen a patient in over a year. "Let me double check the calendar," I said. "Please have a seat." I walked behind the high reception desk. It's a tall counter, so once I was behind it, she couldn't see my gym shorts, just my head and shoulders. I woke up the main computer and logged into the scheduling system, and I saw the schedule for the day. My first patient was not until 10. Dr. Evans, one of my associates, had a slot at 10:15, and Dr. Lee was off today. There was absolutely nothing scheduled for 8:45 or 9 AM. "Ma'am," I called out from behind the desk, "I'm looking at the schedule and I don't see anything for this morning. Are you sure you have the right date?" She marched up to the desk, slamming her hand down on the granite counter. "Yes, I'm positive. I'm not an idiot." "She just looks like one." And then she said, "Are you assuming I'm one?" "No, ma'am, I'm just looking at the system and—" "I don't care what your little computer says," she interrupted. "I made this appointment specifically. What is your name? You're incredibly incompetent." "I'm sorry, ma'am, but I really need your name to look this up," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. "I cannot find an appointment without a name." "Karen," she spat. "Karen last name. Look it up." I typed her name into the search bar. No results. Not just for today, but there were no results in the patient database at all. She was not in the system. "Okay, Karen," I said. "I'm looking at our patient database and I don't see a file for you. Have you been here before?" She looked like she was about to explode. Her face turned a shade of crimson that was honestly concerning from a medical standpoint. "This is unacceptable. Why can't you people do anything right? I've been coming here for 5 years. 5 damn years. And I've never been treated like this." 5 years? If she had been a patient for 5 years, she would be in the old records, and when we digitized, we scanned everything active from the last 7 years. If she was not in the computer, she either had not been here in a decade, or she was lying about it. "I will have you know," she continued, leaning over the counter, "I know the owner personally and we are close friends. I make sure you are reprimanded for this mix-up. In fact, I might just have you fired. Who are you anyway? The cleaning boy?" "I'm just trying to help you find your appointment," I said, dodging the question. "Since you said you've been coming here for years, let me just check the physical archives. Maybe your file was not digitized." My dad was meticulous with records. If she had been here, there was a paper trail. I went into the back office where we kept the old filing cabinets, and I spent about 5 minutes searching, and I checked her last name. I checked common misspellings, I checked the inactive drawer, but there was nothing. She simply did not exist in our world. I walked back out, and by this time, my receptionist Ingrid had arrived. And Ingrid is a gem. She had just walked in the back door and was putting her purse away when she saw Karen fuming in the lobby. Karen spotted Ingrid and threw her hands up. "Finally! Tell this employee of yours that I have an appointment here. He is completely useless." Ingrid looked at Karen, then at me. I was standing there in my gym clothes looking tired. Ingrid looked confused as heck and she started to say, he's actually… Karen cut her off. "Are you gonna adjust me or not? I have places to be." I gave Ingrid a subtle, "Got it," motion with my hand. I didn't want to play the whole "I'm the owner" card just yet. I wanted to figure out what this lady's game was. If she claimed to know the owner, I wanted to see how far she would take it. "I will get everything taken care of," I told Karen. "Please have a seat and we will get this whole thing sorted out for you." Karen huffed and sat down, aggressively crossing her legs and pulling out her phone. "I'm texting the owner right now," she threatened. "He's gonna hear about this incompetent staff." I signaled Ingrid to follow me into the back office. "What is going on?" Ingrid whispered as soon as the door closed. "Who is that?" "She claims she has an appointment," I explained quietly. "She says she's been coming here for 5 years and knows the owner, but she's not in the computer and she's not in the paper files either." Ingrid's eyes went wide. "Not in the paper files? Your dad wrote down everything. If she's not in there, she's never been here." "Exactly," I said. "She thinks I'm the janitor or something because of the shorts." "I'm gonna go shower and change. Can you go out there and try to get a straight answer out of her regarding when she supposedly booked this? Don't tell her who I am yet, though." Ingrid suppressed a giggle. "You got it." I ran downstairs to the staff locker room. We got a shower there for this exact reason. I did the world's fastest scrub, threw on my dress slacks, a crisp button-down shirt, and my white coat. I looked like a completely different person. Upstairs, I could hear Karen's voice carrying through the door. "Excuse me, ma'am," Ingrid was saying politely. "I've double-checked our call logs and online requests, and we don't have any record of you contacting us to book." "Are you effing stupid?" Karen screamed. The profanity echoed in the small waiting room. "I made an appointment over a month ago. I spoke to the man, the old man." "Doctor, my dad's name?" Ingrid asked, referring to my dad. "Yeah, him," Karen shouted. "I'm gonna call him right now." She stormed out of the office, phone in hand. Through the window I could see her pacing on the sidewalk, angrily tapping at her screen. I walked back out to the reception desk, now fully dressed as the doctor. Ingrid was shaking her head. "She's nuts," Ingrid whispered. "She said she booked a month ago with your dad, but your dad has not taken a booking call in like 2 years. "I know," I said, "and she said she's been a patient for 5 years. If she knew my dad, she would know that he retired. At this point, my first legitimate patient of the day, Mr. Riverton, walked in. He's a regular, a nice older guy who works at the hardware store. "Morning, doctor," Mr. Riverton said, shaking my hand. "You're looking sharp today." "Thanks, Mr. Riverton," I said. "Ingrid will get you checked in." Just as Mr. Riverton was leaning on the counter, Karen came storming back in. She saw me in my white coat and paused for a microsecond, looking confused, but her rage was too much to process visual cues at the moment. She didn't recognize me from the janitor 20 minutes ago, or maybe she just didn't care. "You guys are screwed now," she announced to the room, ignoring Mr. Riverton. "I just talked to the owner. He's on his way down here right now to fire all of you." I exchanged a look with Ingrid. "My dad on his way?" "Ma'am," I said calmly, "the owner is—" "Shut up," she yelled. "I don't want to hear another word from you. You're done. You're all fired." Mr. Riverton looked terrified. "Is everything okay here?" "It's just a slight misunderstanding," I assured him, and then the front door opened again, and my dad actually walked in right at that moment. It was not because she called him. He actually left his phone at home that morning. It was just his Tuesday routine to bring us donuts. He walked in holding a pink donut box, wearing his goofy retirement fisherman hat and a windbreaker. Karen's face lit up with a triumphant, evil grin, and she pointed a manicured finger at my dad. "There he is," she shouted. "Ha, you're all dead, you're all fired." My dad stopped in his tracks, holding the donuts. He looked at Karen, then at me, then at Ingrid, and he looked completely bewildered. Karen rushed over him. "Dr. Dad's name, thank God you're here. Your staff has been quite rude to me, disrespectful, incompetent. I demand they are fired immediately." My dad blinked. He slowly set the donut box back on the waiting room table. He then looked at Karen closely, squinting a little through his glasses. "Do I know you?" he asked. The silence in the room was deafening. Karen's grin faltered. "It is me," she insisted. "Karen, I'm friends with your wife. We met last week." "You told me here to come for treatment." My dad's face went through a journey of realization. "Oh," he said slowly, "that's right." Karen spun around to face me and Ingrid, that smug grin back in full force. "See, I told you, I know the owner. You morons are getting fired." She turned back to my dad. "These fools didn't book my appointment and they've been very rude. I want them all fired, especially that one." She pointed at me. I stepped out from behind the counter. "Wait a second," I said. "You said you met last week?" Karen glared at me. "Yeah, last week at the bistro." "Okay," I said, my voice dropping an octave. "But earlier when you were yelling at my receptionist, you said you made this appointment a month ago." Karen froze. "And," I continued, "before that, when you were yelling at me when I was taking out the trash, you said you had been coming here for 5 years. But if you only met the owner last week, how have you been a patient for 5 years here?" Karen's smile vanished, her mouth opened and closed like a fish out of water. She started stuttering. "Well, you heard wrong. I said a week ago. You cannot even listen." "I heard you quite clearly," Ingrid piped up from the desk. "You said a month ago in 5 years. And," I added, driving the nail in the coffin, "you claimed you called and booked this appointment personally with the owner. But if you met him socially last week, why would you think he was booking appointments?" My dad cleared his throat. He actually hated conflict, but he hated liars even more. "You were at the table next to us with that loud group. You came over and interrupted our dinner to complain about your neck pain because you overheard someone say that I was a chiropractor." He stepped next to me and put a hand on my shoulder. "And I told you I was retired, and I told you that my son here owns the practice now, and I gave you his card and told you to call the office to see if they could fit you in. I definitely didn't book an appointment for you because I don't work here anymore." Karen looked like she had swallowed a lemon at this point. She looked at my dad, then at me. "Your son?" she squeaked. "Yes," my dad said. "This is Dr. OP, the owner, the man you just demanded I fire." And I smiled. It was a genuine smile, the kind you get when the puzzle pieces finally snap into place. "So let me get this straight, Karen. You harassed me at the back door before we were open, and you lied about having an appointment. You lied about being a long-time patient. You abused my staff, and then you tried to get me fired from my own business by lying to my father." She was grasping for straws. "I misunderstood. He said come in. That means I have an appointment, right?" "No," I said firmly. "It means you can call and book like everyone else, but honestly, even if you had booked, I would not treat you now." "What? You cannot refuse me service. I'm in pain." She was switching from predator to victim in the blink of an eye. "I absolutely can," I said. "We got a zero-tolerance policy for abuse towards staff. And since I'm the staff you abused and the owner you tried to manipulate, I'm banning you from this practice. You're not welcome here anymore." Karen went ballistic. She started waving her arms around. "You cannot do this. Do you know who I am? I will ruin you. I will tell everyone in this town what a horrible business this is." My dad stepped forward. I've rarely seen him this angry. He's a gentle soul, but insulting his family is his berserk button. "You insulted my son," my dad said, his voice low and dangerous. "You insulted my staff. Get out, now." "I'm not leaving until I get an adjustment," she shrieked. "Ingrid," I said calmly, "call the police." "We got a trespasser here." Ingrid picked up the phone with enthusiasm. As soon as the word police registered, Karen grabbed her bag and said, "You have not heard the last of me. I'm gonna sue you. I'm gonna write reviews." She stormed out, slamming the door so hard the glass rattled. Mr. Riverton, who had been watching this entire exchange with wide eyes, let out a low whistle. "Well," he said, "this was better than morning TV." My dad sighed and opened the donut box. "I leave you in charge for 1 year and look what happens." He winked, but the story doesn't end there. Karen, true to her word, tried to go scorched earth. That afternoon, a 1-star review popped up on Google. "Rude staff, dirty office, the doctor was wearing gym clothes and smelled. The owner is a senile old man who lies to patients, don't go here." Then she took to the local community Facebook page. You know, the kind community chat groups where people complain about loud noises and lost cats, and she wrote a massive post about how our family practice had gone downhill, how I was an arrogant brat, and how my dad had promised her free treatment and then reneged on it. Well, that was her fatal mistake. See, my dad has treated half that town for 40 years. He has fixed their backs, their kids' scoliosis, and their grandparents' arthritis. He sponsors the Little League team. He even donates to the food bank, and the comment section destroyed Karen. "Doctor, Dad's name is a saint. You sound crazy. I've been going there for 20 years. They are the most professional people in town." "Wait, aren't you the lady who got kicked out of the grocery store for yelling at the cashier last month?" It turns out Karen had a really bad reputation already, and nobody believed her. And yeah guys, if you enjoy the r/IDOWorkHereLady stories, then please don't forget to subscribe to the channel to not miss any videos. Either way, the next one is another IDOWorkHereLady story, which is titled, "I was not cutting in line, have fun getting arrested." So, I used to work at a nightclub for many years as a side gig. This club had a lot of pretty diverse events, but every Saturday night was one of the biggest parties in the city, so it brought out the basics in droves. Just your regular young city dwellers or bridge hoppers flocking to get their groove on. This place would get packed, like squeezing through a sardine can packed. So packed that people often couldn't even dance, they just stood smashed up against each other, sort of wiggling a bit, at least back in its heyday. This was not my type of event, I super hate strangers touching me. One of my jobs was to tend to the bathrooms, which surely means in a past life I was likely a baby murderer given how disgusting that chore was on the busy Saturday nights, but honestly, that part of the job alone I have several tales of woe from. There were more than a few bathrooms and one was a single stall on the top floor, and this one always had a line and had the most issues, as people like this privacy to do all sorts of things, and you can imagine people doing during a raging party. I've seen some things. Anyway, I marched my merry butt up the stairs, fighting the crowd as best I could to refresh the tiny loo, and as usual there was quite a line. Now, I'm not only in uniform, but with a radio hanging off my butt, cleaning towels, etc., but my arms were full of toilet paper. I tried to communicate to the line as best I could over blaring music and endless screaming that I needed to go next so they would have the ability to wipe if needed. Even though the line was filled with wobbly clubgoers pretty desperate to use the toilet, they seemed to understand, except this one chick. She was pretty basic. Like, you would hire her to stand in as an extra in a Gap commercial. She was young, blonde and otherwise forgettable, though attractive for sure. She was not even dressed up for dancing, just like she walked out of a mall on an average day. And immediately she was irate and started yelling that I could not cut the line. This was many years ago, so I don't remember all the vitriol she spewed, but you would never guess this basic little lady would have a mouth worse than a sailor. While I'm trying to assure her drunk butt that it'll just be 2 seconds, all I had to do was put down toilet paper and wipe a surface unless someone was actually dead in there, and she's not even next in line, FFS. Then the door opened and I immediately rushed in, and the lady tried to follow me in the single stall bathroom. Excuse me? She is losing her mind and I'm scared, so I quickly start shutting the door, careful not to close her in. At the same time and lock it, I radio security for help and then wait. I'm a coward, so I waited until security gave the all clear to leave. I didn't think anything more about it because clubs are crazy and crap just happens on the regular. Later I'm outside on a break, and then who do I see? Little Miss Basic in handcuffs. She had been set down on the curb by the police, and I'm asked to give my statement of what led up to this 5'5" wave assaulting security. Her friends, a guy and another lady, were standing over her yelling, "Get her out of handcuffs! She did not do anything!" They were not around for the incident, at least not what I saw, and she's crying saying, "I didn't hit anyone." Sure, Jan. Once I filled out the statement, security told me what she did to them. Once they arrived upstairs at her freaking out on a bathroom door, they tried to calm her down, and these guys were huge but have a lot of control. This is not the kind of club where people get roughed up by staff, though sometimes that would have been nice. Instead of calming down though and listening to reason, she went feral and started hitting them on their heads mostly, going for their faces, even leaving a huge scratch near the head of security's eye. She must have been climbing up the 6-foot-plus guy to injure him in that way. I never saw that guy actually injured by anyone my entire time working there. It took everything in me not to die laughing when they hauled the little lady off for assaulting 2 people. I'm also really glad I got her out of the bathroom before she got to me too. And the next one is another I Do Work Here Lady story, which is titled, "Being short does not make me a child." So this happened yesterday. I had to go to a different school than normal for work yesterday, and there's a group of like 6 of us going into the building when the woman in front of me turns around and glares. Her, "School doesn't start until next week. You should call your mommy and ask for a ride home." Me, "Ma'am, I'm here for the same reason you are." Her, "You cannot be." I showed her my badge. "Ma'am, I'm a staff member supposed to be here today." Her, "How did you get a fake staff badge?" Now, I took this moment to consider my next move. I mean, I'm a smaller adult at 5'3", and I was carrying my work book bag, but honestly, what kind of person would get a fake ID to attend a district-wide SPED conference? It's not a fake badge, I really work here. Her, "But you're a child." She tried to call on help from the man behind me to get me to leave. "Don't you think she should go home?" Him, "We don't have time for this, just let her in. She's got the badge." He used his momentum to more or less push me and the gatekeeping lady into the building and end the argument, and once in, I went my own way and left the glaring lady eyeing both of me and the hero of a man who didn't have time for her nonsense. I don't know who this man is, but he was my hero yesterday. Thank you, kind sir. And yeah, Ripe Stars, thanks for watching. I will see you again tomorrow.